of Parliament, Mara City North. He's a lawyer and an advocate of the High Court. I have a guest, Sandra Baho, who is a lawyer, advocate of the High Court, and Brenda Kashamederwa, who is also, a political analyst, since she has not made it to the ballot as a presidential candidate. We are talking about what transpired on the 2 days of nominations, the pain and back and forth that candidates had to go through to make it for the shortlist, but those that are now graping of the inadequacies of the Electoral Commission. What does it mean? Before we went for a break, and Twiga, you were telling us that this is simply a validation exercise for President Museveni, but not an election. But going right into the requirements of the Electoral Commission, these are creatures of the law. They've been created by the law, and all Ugandans that have interest in contesting are aware of these requirements. Maybe what could have changed is that candidates were not able to nominate their representatives in the verification room, but at least we know and we trust the Independent Electoral Commission to verify these signatures. And if at all there are any lapses, they're able to communicate to the candidates that like they did. So what is the problem? After all, we would not have the 220 on the ballot. Isn't it only sensible that we have the right people go through as presidential candidates?
Yes, but the right people, who told you that those who appear right are the right ones who should be there? There are those we appear to think are the right persons to be on the ballot, but they are not supposed to be there. You get the idea?
Yes.
Like General Museveni, is he still supposed to be contesting in Uganda? For what? From 1986, 2026, you're still contesting. What is that? What is that? You ask yourself, what is that?
That is what the
from
law
1986 to 2026, you're still on the ballot paper.
Yes.
And that's the same man you're going to vote.
And that's the same man you're going to vote for.
I am going to vote for him because he's on the ballot paper. you think if he not appear on the ballot paper, I would commit suicide? Are you saying if General Museveni said I am no longer on the ballot paper?
Yes.
Me sent to I would commit suicide. But because he's there, I'm going to vote him. Do you know why? I don't want problems. I keep hearing all these social media, TikTok. I don't want problem. You get the idea? I don't want problems. I've told you. Because my view is that if he is pushed, if he does not go away peacefully at his will, he's going to leave us in limbo. So I am better off, safer with him, and then waiting upon him to decide to leave. But I don't think even General Museveni said, I am retiring, even this election I'm getting out, I don't think I would get a headache. I won't catch ulcers. So, if he gave us chance, and now we saw a competition, a genuine competition between the Muntu, the Bob Wines, the Brendas here, young women like Brenda. Actually, these are the people who are supposed to be getting medals. Even think about becoming a presidential candidate here in Uganda. Many women fear, even at LC1. She's thinking about becoming a president of Uganda. Can't you see she's a great woman? You get the idea? These are the people who are supposed to be running for president. You see, in a on any road in a traffic jam, the slowest car determines the speed of all others. Now we have the slowest car in Uganda determining the speed. You get the idea? You've been president from 1986. You are now nominated to contest 2026. You ask yourself, 40 years. Even King David did not go beyond 40 years in the Bible, and King Solomon. I mean, it beats logic, doesn't it? Doesn't it beat logic? It beats the Bible, it beats logic, it beats everything. Common sense. You still want to be president on the same job that you were doing in 1986. Is it your profession? You studied it.
Okay.
So, my view, therefore, is, whereas, okay, in my understanding, in my view, since General Museveni has come to run for president, whereas I believe that I should vote him and many other people should vote him, I think he has caused the traffic jam. I also think that the people you see crying left, right, and center, and even you can even look at the caliber of the presidential candidates we now have. Very serious people have stopped offering themselves for presidential elections and parliamentary and even at other levels because of the confusion, of the fraud that manifests itself in every election. People who think they deserve honor have stopped offering themselves for elective positions. And even at voting, people who think they matter, those who think they matter, who can feed themselves, who can take their children to school in time, who can afford themselves medical care, they no longer see a reason to go and vote. Do you know why? Because the people who turn up asking for elections to be our leaders are mediocres generally. It is in the nationalist movement government where mediocrity is promoted. In fact, you are a suspect if you are not a mediocre. You get the idea? Look at the caliber. Look at the caliber of leaders we have generally. Look at them. Elective or non-elective. Look at the caliber.
I think you're questioning the caliber of Ugandans that we are, because eventually these leaders are a true representation of who we are.
I want you to get General Museveni's cabinet and look at it and assess those people. You get it? You find a minister who can't go to any university and address students on anything. Leave alone lecturers.
But they also
quite
very formidable people. There? But they also very formidable people in that cabinet.
Yes, have I said all of them? I've not said all of them. I have said you find a minister who can't go to Makerere University or Mbara University and address university students on anything.
Okay.
You find leaders who can't comprehend the realities of life. And this government is guilty of promoting mediocrity at various levels. So, when we go into elections and people turn up and they say these are our signatures, you say they have already nominated General Museveni, where is the evidence? I told you I went to Electoral Commission and asked Justice Byabakama. When this candidate, the aspirant, brought his nomination documents, did the Electoral Commission stamp them? No. They don't put a received stamp. You just come with your papers and dump them there. You get the idea? They say come tomorrow. When you come, you find some pages missing. They say this document is missing. Some of them you can't see them. They don't want to take any responsibility of anything. In the standard conventional way of receiving documents in government offices and elsewhere, when I come to you and you have said I prepare documents in triplicate, that is in 3 sets, it is expected that I return home with 1 set, but which is stamped and shows the date and the time when I submitted. I was shocked that at Shema district nomination ground, whoever took the documents there, they were not stamped. There is no evidence of receiving them. That is a fraud itself. So when time came and they said, now which signatures do we take? This one has come with signatures, and Electoral Commission says we also have some signatures. Which ones do it? I said voluntary assumption of risk. You must take these ones that we have come with. Why? Because you abstained from stamping, signing, receiving formally the documents that were submitted at the nomination time. I do not know whether for presidential candidates it was the same thing. You are supposed to bring your signatures and dump them there. No one stamps anyway.
Okay.
What type of government are we running?
Thank you.
So therefore, the listeners, please, the listeners.
Yes.
I want you to understand this thing, because they may not understand it. I want to simplify this election for them so they understand it.
Yes.
This election that you see, you get the idea, has one man standing, others kneeling or crawling. You get the idea. If you dare stand up, you face it rough. So Museveni must win. If you have an election where one individual must win, underline the word must.
Yes. And
he is armed, he controls all the instruments of violence, he is the paymaster, he has everything, you are wasting your what? Your time.
Bruce Wakunda, Thank you, Moses. The argument of electoral reforms, because that's where the problem is. You will blame General Museveni, you will blame government, but the law is as what it is. It gives the power to the Electoral Commission and the executive power of the appointing authority to appoint the Electoral Commission, nominate commissioners, and all this. So it is within the law that the state is actually operating. At the same time, people like Ntwiga are saying this process is already biased in the interest of one individual. Why is the government, and the NRM particularly, not interested in electoral reforms that could create at least a leveled ground for all participants? Bruce.
Well, I want to partly agree with what Ntwiga has said about the degeneration of the quality of leaders we have. You know, politicians and the political systems are socially produced. Most of the times, these leaders are mirrors of the societies. They come from us. The degeneration is at the social fabric of our society. So we cannot continue to blame leaders and exonerate ourselves. The blame must be collective. But you see, Moses has used very many words to conceal his lies, just like other politicians.
Yes.
And his statements are very contradictory. You can't have your cake
and eat it
at the same
yes.
time. If you're saying the man is causing traffic, yet he's moving at a slow pace, you had an opportunity. Either you worked with him or you worked for him. You must clarify. If you associated with him in close proximity, then you must have had an opportunity to raise these issues to him. If you think his longevity is a problem to this country, and I agree with him. I think this should be the president's last term.
Okay.
Otherwise, the failure to get the transition of power peacefully is going to be his biggest undoing with all what he has been able to achieve. Talking about
reforms,
like you've said, all what that is happening is a creation of the law. And as long as the state is operating within the confines of the law, even to do political management or to achieve political interest, there is not much you can do. The only way to go about it is to use the same law to make those reforms. And in fact, at the very core of democracy, the biggest component should be fair competition for all actors across the political divide, not just in government. We should all advocate for good governance if we really love this country, not just about government, even other political players. I had so much hope now that Norbert Mao had crossed over and made a working cooperation with the government, and in fact was given a very critical docket. He's the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. Then he would be a champion of those reforms. Unfortunately, I've been disappointed by Chairman Mao.
Did it come surprising?
Yes, it is very surprising. In fact, for me, I thought when they were some of the terms of the, if you had him when that cooperation agreement was made, he talked about electoral reforms, he talked about a peaceful transfer of power and also electoral reforms. But on this Thursday was on NBS Frontline, and he was speaking another language. So even us in the movement, we advocate for fair competition. It is in the best interest of this country. Because for me, like I've already said on this show, Uganda did not start with President Museveni, and is not going to end with President Museveni. If the National Resistance Movement envisages to continue as a party beyond President Museveni, then we must change our methods of work.
Okay.
We must start on the job. So it should be a collective effort for all of us to demand for electoral reforms, to demand that we have a very fair and free electoral process. Because at the end of the day, Uganda is bigger than President Museveni, it is bigger than the NRM, it is even bigger than the opposition.
Okay, thank you, Bruce. Sandra, you have a president who appoints the Electoral Commission. literally the whole bench, the commissioners, the chairperson, and the law is very clear. First of all, it is the Electoral Commission that is given the mandate to manage the entire process. The timelines and how interested parties and political actors are supposed to interact within themselves is within the law. Why would you cast stones on the Electoral Commission when they are only adhering to the dictates of the law? Isn't it only possible that we blame Parliament for making laws or not reforming laws to realign with what is the expectations of Ugandans? Sandra.
Thank you, Wesige. I'll first start with the proverb that says you cannot bite the hand that feeds you.
Yes.
And in your opening, when you're opening your question, you talked about the EC itself being appointed by the president and other commissioners.
Yes.
And we all know how this parliament, it's the 11th parliament, right?
Yes.
And most of the seats, of course, are for the movement, the ruling party. And they're the ones who make the laws. Mr. Bruce right now was talking about advocating for electoral reforms, but isn't it too late at this point? In September, we are voting in January next year. Are the reforms really viable at this point of time? Because we are already disagreeing from what we had about the presidential aspirants. We are already disagreeing with the verification process itself.
But you said election is not a mere event when you teach.
That's what
it is a process.
Thank you.
So we have
the
enough
process
time.
Has already begun.
Yes, that's
the
what I'm
process
saying.
Has already begun, and so far it's not transparent.
Mm.
And the reforms, if they were to be there, they would have happened like 2 years ago, and they would have been put in place, and would have been expectant of that. We were going to be like Biabakama's EC. This time, the elections are going to be conducted like this.
Does government have interest in reforming the electoral laws?
That's the question.
Yes.
Does it have interest? Does the parliament, because EC itself favors the people that are supposed to reform it.
Mm.
That is the hand that is actually feeding the EC.
Mm.
Are they interested in making those reforms? If they made those reforms in the Uganda that we know, would they actually be upheld? Would the reforms be upheld by the people that are supposed to uphold them? We have many incidents where the law is clear, but is it being followed? It is not. So why do you think it is going to change this time? Because the electoral reforms, of which they cannot happen right now.
Okay.
If there were any electoral reforms, maybe they would have been more about making the EC as independent as it should be. But it is already late. For now, for the 2026 elections, it's already late for the reforms.
Okay.
And maybe if at any point of time the parliament is not the parliament of being given 200 million to change, to vote for a bill or change for anything, maybe that is the new Uganda that will be Kuvimbiram, like the president.
Okay. let me bring in Brenda on electoral reforms. Isn't it high time that we said, when all that is said and done, we are Ugandans, and all of us where we are, the interest of every Ugandan is to make our country better. Do you find a chance? Do you see a situation where government says, you know what? We know there's a block of Ugandans, the 3-point-something million, that are not in agreement of how they are governed and how these leaders, in fact, occupy these positions. How about we go back to the drawing board of the framework that guides all of us, the law? This whole process of the Electoral Commission and the verification and the requirements are within the law, and the Electoral Commission is only doing what the law requires. What is your opinion in as far as the law is concerned in managing this process?
Thank you so much. Talking about electoral reforms, I think we have to agree that a lot of reforms that need to be done cannot be done under the stewardship of President Yoweri Museveni. Because the kind of laws we have and their inefficiency favor his stay and overstay in power. So my sister here has really broken it down so well for me, because we are talking about reforms, but also we are dealing with a parliament which is supposed to actually make the law or reform them, which only makes the law that the president wants, receives money, gets paid, And sadly also, because we may have hopes in opposition parliamentarians, but they have also been pinned for receiving that money and actually not doing what we expect them to do. So our nation is in trouble, because a lot of the changes we want to see, even away from the electoral laws, a lot of the changes we want to see cannot come because the situation we are in favors the overstay of the people who are in power. And that's why even the last time I was here, I said a lot of the things that's going wrong look deliberate. It's not rocket science that we can make changes if we wanted, but we are not making the changes because it's all deliberate. People want us to stay the way we are. And also they talked about the caliber of leaders we are having these days, and I want to agree with Bruce. The kind of leaders we have, the caliber of leaders we have, represent what the society has turned into, like the deterioration, the degeneration, the demoralization. Like, this is how the whole mindset of the society is, and as such, this is the type of leaders we produce. So now think about Byabakama. Everything he has done, everything he has said, he always looks like he is obeying another law that we don't know about. So even when we say whatever he's doing is in the confines of the law, it doesn't look like that to me. It doesn't look like that. So I may even inquire to know what the law says about the verification. Does it say you can verify me 1 hour towards nomination? I have to stay up all night at 3 and be at the EC asking why I'm not getting my verification certificate. Is that part of the law?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that breaking the law? So all of the things that we are speaking about are really valid. But I think it's time for Ugandans to come to a realization that a lot of the things that are happening are man-made and deliberate, and the people in power are not willing to change them.
Okay.
And probably we need to come to a point where we ask the question, what can we do?
Okay. To the lifeline of the show, the telephone calls on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. We put a question on our X handle, and the question is: the Electoral Commission cleared 8 presidential candidates for the 2026 presidential elections, but there are a couple of other aspirants that were locked out because of the signature requirements from the 98 districts. What do you think? The law should be amended. Do you think the law should be amended to allow more Ugandans to run for president? And I have, for ladies, we should ask why we have no ladies contesting as chairperson for their parties. The system has been tighter this time for independents to beat Honorable Robert, beat the delay because NUP was organized. Andrew Tumusime is saying, actually, the law has saved Ugandans. Otherwise, would more likely see 80 people on the ballot. Michelle or Shaba saying more candidates should be allowed, though it doesn't make sense. If you look at Mugisha Moto and Bobby Wine, they are going to get opposition votes divided. Brighton, Mugisha, you're saying there's nothing like the law in this government. The dictator chooses who to compete with. On 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. The big say.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
This is Joshua, Mr. Banyaji.
Yes, please.
I am confused, especially with the security for the candidate. I'm guessing.
Just lost that call. The big seat.
Good morning, Grace again.
Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Joseph from Kashumba Bukangi, Sinje.
Yes, Joseph.
I want to thank you for the show and thank the panelists but on the issue. I think in Uganda, politics are no longer making all that much. Because if you can find out of over 200 plus that took nomination forms for presidential candidates, now they have only registered 8. It does not make sense for sure. No red query. I want to thank Brenda for having done such a thing, and I want to appreciate her very much. Thank you very much for the show.
All right. On Cruise TV, those that are watching the show on YouTube and TikTok, Matsko Ian, Wargava, Onesimus, you in Rwankondo in Buhweju, Sinfuma Steven, and Devi Owamatsko, who is watching the show. Kamjsha Emmanuel, thank you so much for watching the show. Etingo Julius, you're in Nebi all the way. Andrew Tumsimi saying all organs of government are in the hands of one person. Then Omwana Nkana Brian, you're appreciating the show. Atalemwa Robert, you're saying we need reforms. If there are no reforms, then it's all a myth. That's on Cruise TV. The Big Seat.
Hello.
Yes, we're almost losing you. Good morning.
Good morning.
What's your name and where you're calling from?
This is Franco from Kasese.
Yes, please.
Thank you for the program.
Thank you for listening in.
Yeah, if we want peaceful and fair election in Uganda, the electoral commission should be independent, not being elected by the president who is already there, the incumbent.
Okay.
Secondly, people took their forms, nomination forms, and they were allowed to go back and search for people to support them. But the time that were given to them were less, so people could not manage to bring their nominee.
Unfortunately, we've lost you. You weren't very clear, but let me keep reading some of your messages. Joel Aijuka, you're saying the Electoral Commission should either reduce on the signatures required or allocate more time for mobilization of those signatures. I think that's on point. Brighton, you're saying even if they amend and 1,000 candidates run for the presidency, it won't change the game for Museveni. He will be polling on Ugandans. I want to Msinguzi Al-Salam, you're in Uganda. Dickens Kakuru, and there's so many of you that are contributing to the show. Let me pick a bit of more calls before I come back to the panel. Good morning.
Council West Gavanyaji, good morning to you.
Good morning, my brother. You've been very quiet on me. What's going on? Are you okay?
I've been quiet because I contested as a councillor, but I wasn't declared.
You are not declared?
I'm not among those who are disgruntled.
But you're not among those that are disgruntled?
To the matter? Yeah, I would want first to correct you about Council Moses and Twiga Nwadaba. He's not in Twiga from Mbarara. He's in Twiga Uganda. It is in Twiga Uganda, not only in Mbarara. And to the matter, in Uganda we don't have law. Because we don't have independent EC. If we had a law in Uganda, that EC, that so-called EC, which is independent, didn't allow one candidate to determine how others should compete against him. It wouldn't also let that candidate keep reminding his competitors how powerful he is, and he shouldn't put those participators on gunpoint. So, really, this Uganda, you know, my English has a lot of problems. That would be good.
But it's you has chosen to speak the English. You could use Runyankore. It's okay.
No.
Thank you, Agava. Have a fantastic weekend. Let me come back to the panel here. Moses, we realize that this is squarely about the law. The Electoral Commission is simply doing their job because they were appointed by the president, because the law allows the president to appoint these individuals. The timelines and the requirements are within the law. We shall have the elections, and we know the law that will guide the operations of the entire exercise, and the aftermath, the presidential petitions. we know that there's a timeline, 10 days, where a candidate has to look for all these affidavits and all these things. And also we shall be back here to talk about of how unfair and how the law itself is meant to make it very difficult for candidates to even petition the Supreme Court. What is the way forward? What should candidates and those interested in abolit politique participate if at all the law is what it is?
We have a flag bearer in Mbarara here who goes telling people that if so-and-so is elected, after all, the Electoral Commission will not declare him.
Even when the people say...
He will not be announced the winner. You get the idea? I mean, there's that sense of entitlement. And earlier than this, I told you that coming a flag bearer, the reason these people fight for the flag of NRM, it is a license to steal elections. When you have it, you have a license. When people complain, you go to police.
But it's the same president who said 1 million votes were sneaked into by the Electoral Commission and they were cast in favor of his opponents. And he has evidence that 1 million votes were voted in favor of Kyagulanyi Ssentamu in 2021.
NUP has capacity to rig. Why? Because there are areas where it is exclusively, in charge. It has capacity to rig. And the NUP people don't really look so gentle. They are capable of harm, causing harm.
You should see Sandra's look.
Bodily harm. Grievous. They are also capable of causing grievous bodily harm.
Yes.
GBH.
Yes.
So, where they are dominant, they are a dominant force.
Yes.
They are also capable of rigging. So I want to, take the president's message or comment or complaint in good faith. But I also want to state that this election is skewed against the opposition and independent candidates. So, and also to state that the chairman electoral commission and his commissioners and the entire team are not free. Sometimes we blame them, but they are working under the whims of the ruling party, and they want first to look at the president's face to see whether this one should be declared the winner. You remember a time when we had Winnie Byanyima here and Ngoma Ngime. The president was here in State Lodge when they were reading results, announcing partial results. And you could see that there was hardship. The returning officer was facing hardship, announcing Winnie Byanyima as a winner. And in fact, after counting the votes, all the ballots were counted, Winnie Byanyima was ahead with 164 votes. I remember them very well. And they had to wait for the president's word to say whether to state whether Winnie Byanyima should be declared the winner or Ngoma Ngime when he had not won.
Yes.
You get the idea? So, what's my point? My point is that the Electoral Commission that we blame, they are just pursuing their jobs. They want to do work. Many of them are still young. They want to live. You get the idea? I want to appreciate the fact that the commission is increasingly getting corrupt. I've also noticed that the Electoral Commission is increasingly becoming corrupt. That's why I said that Tango Doi and Byabakama are now twins. I didn't mean the individuals per se. I meant the entire structure under the Byabakama and the entire structure under Tango Doi. There are striking similarities between the personalities, the conduct of the personalities working in the two electoral commissions, one of the movement of NRM and then another of the whole country. There are striking similarities in terms of character, in terms of conduct. I'm actually worried that also in this upcoming election, the people will be having the money. If you have like 200 million, 300, 500, you are likely to be declared the winner, even when the result actually show the opposite. Now, on strategic terms, I want to state two things. I saw the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs about a week ago making a statement. I don't know what is coming over our elder brother, and the man I thought would one time be president of Uganda. The first time I met Norbert Mao, I thought he would be president of Uganda at some point. I don't know what is ruining him. He stated that this election is going to be the quietest.
And
Those are
indeed,
his words.
going by what transpired on the 2 days of nomination, it's going to be a quiet exercise.
That is going to be the quietest. That you quietly go like Orumbugu. I don't know Orumbugu in English. This plant which goes under the soil.
Yeah.
And then you emerge from the point where you are going to hold your rally, if rallies are allowed. Then immediately after the rally, you again go deep under the earth.
Yes.
Then you will emerge at another point that there will not be, we will not have any procession. I don't think they will allow music to move from village to village. What type of election is this? It looks high-handed. We appear as if we are on a military parade. I don't agree with you, Honorable Norbert Mao, because as the Minister of Justice, okay, you are the custodian of electoral matters in the entire country, and a Minister of Justice should dispense justice. You have people who've been talking all over. Just to look at even the nominations. People were nominated way back. They are not campaigning. They are waiting for the whistle. What is the Electoral Commission doing? We who want to run for parliament will be nominated on 22nd and 23rd October. We will wait for campaigns on 10th of November. What are we supposed to be doing between 24th October and 10th of November? What are we supposed to be doing? I asked in some TikTok video, and when I reached the Electoral Commission, the PRO Mchunguzi said they had viewed my video, and then he gave me some reason which I didn't appreciate. He said we need that time to organize the ballot papers. I said ballot papers? When you know even a candidate can die. You get the idea?
Yes.
You have enough time up to January to organize ballot papers. Some will die, others will withdraw, etc. Why do you have to organize? Do you need to organize a ballot paper for me to begin campaigning? I think that was a not a serious reason. The last component of my assertions is about retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye. We can't keep Dr. Besigye in prison in this electioneering season and pretend as if things are still normal. This pretense should go away. All members of NRM, committed members of the National Resistance Movement, like Bruce, you know me, I am NRM, but I told you the type. It is clean, at least on the face. Okay, but those who are willing to be dirty even on the face, but they are strong.
They are here.
NRM. Now, I'm sorry. Now, NRM, if you want votes, especially from men, in Angola and in Chigezi, find a way of losing interest, because you see the president can lose interest in the criminal case, and then the DPP will tell us that the state has lost interest. Find a way of releasing retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye. It is going to be so shameful, and by the way, an act of arrogance for you to go to Rukunjiri, Besigye's home, campaign there
when their son is in jail.
It's going to be an act of arrogance.
Okay.
It's going to appear so bad. And these days, I am one of the people, one of the few who still volunteer information to the head of state. Your Excellency, I don't know, I've taken time without getting closer to the president. But I think the Bruces and other people, they go there. Those who still reach His Excellency the President, please tell him the truth. This is my message. There is no harm in releasing Dr. Kizza Besigye. They fought together, you came together, you've lived together, you ate together, you were in the same cabinet, all through.
I
do not
the
think
prayer should be different. The prayer should be, let the institutions function, let the law and the rule of law prevail. It's not about favors and who President Museveni fought with. It is, what does the law say?
Which favor does Besigye need? They grabbed him from Nairobi and brought him here.
But if at all he has cases to answer, then should President Museveni
intervene? They are not there. You mean you believe that there is any case?
It's only the judiciary.
They are not there.
It's only the judiciary.
Why are you appealing to
no,
the president?
wait, I submit. So, my view is that those charges on Dr. Besigye are fake, Because even those who arrested him and brought him here, who were the superintendents of the arrest, are also under arrest for faking bombs, faking arrests, faking everything. General Museveni already knows that Dr. Besigye is an innocent man. He only wants him in prison for purposes of elections, so that he does not come and disturb him. But I'm also cautioning him that, Your Excellency, if you don't release Dr. Besigye, you are going to lose votes, especially of men, starting from Yantonde, going to Kanungu. And in Rukunjiri, Kanungu, and generally Chigezi, you are going to lose even votes from women. Don't be shocked if people just come and look at you and in the ballot box you don't find votes. Don't be shocked, because we are not happy. In fact, Mjishamuntu, one of the reasons Mjishamuntu will get more votes from Ankole and Chigezi is because of the protest vote against Museveni for incarcerating retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye.
Thank you. Bruce Owakunda, I want us to engage on the 2 days, what transpired on the nominations day. In 2021, we remember when Bobby Wine was nominated, immediately the security agencies arrested him. There were deaths, literally. He had torn coat blazers and his coat was... We remember the skirmish that happened. This time around, it was a bit of tranquility. There was a lot of peace and harmony, and all these different actors at least followed and were bound by the law. How come this time the state reacted differently? And what is its interest eventually?
Thank you, Wesley. But before we leave this previous discussion,
please.
You see, the law and politics will never be mutually exclusive. They are intertwined. In fact, at every point in history, the law must coexist with politics. And whether you like it or not, politics will always influence the law. That's why you see some repressive and oppressive regimes use the law as a tool for political persecution of opponents, and also to stifle dissent and resistance. Professor Oko Onyango of Makerere wrote a book, When the Courts Play Politics, and he gives a very deep examination, and he writes extensively about even politics in the courts of law. So if be it at the bar or even at the bench, there is politics. Politics will always override the law. Like I said, these 2 days, indeed, like Mao said, it was a quiet exercise compared to the previous one we had in 2021. There was comprehensive media coverage, like I said. So we kept tabs with whatever was happening. Spare for some isolated incidences where there was a little bit of chaos. But even when Robert Kyagulanyi was departing his home in Magere, he made a brief speech and he called on his foot soldiers, said, today we must exhibit discipline because the regime is always looking for a way to harm us. So that was a plus for him. And also the security agencies for this time, we must give credit where it is due. Most times, by the way, they use unnecessary force and measures. I don't know why a trained officer, it should be very difficult for you to subdue a civilian who is not armed. Why do you have to shoot him? I thought they should be trained on how to handle these processions. But we continue to pray and we continue to ask, and I continue to ask all of you that we should have a peaceful election. The electoral cycle is coming. It is going to end. Even when you want a change in government, it is only prudent and fine when that government finds you when you are alive. So moving forward in the exercise, we pray that every candidate is accorded the fair competition should be there. They should be given their freedom to assemble. They should be given their freedom to pass on their message. They should be given their freedom to organize. They should be given their freedom to mobilize. They should be given freedom to reach, to allow their message to sink in to the person in the deepest village there in Kazo. So that's it.
Okay. Yes. Sandra, I want to engage you on the 2 days of nominations. At least there was tranquility, there was peace. We didn't see what happened in 2021. Maybe by the words of the Justice and the Constitutional Affairs Minister, having a quiet election, maybe we shall not lose Ugandans in the campaigns. Maybe we shall not see confrontation between the state and the citizenry. Maybe now the law will make sense and we shall have all actors follow and adhere to the law.
Thank you. In answering your question, going back to the 2021 general elections and the nominations, I remember the one thing that comes to my mind is Amuriat losing his shoe, the then
Yes.
aspirant for FDC, and everything that went on, and the violence, the electoral violence started from the time the nominations. And remember, it was even during the aftermath of COVID-19. COVID-19 was still in. And then it moved to even the very election day because the NUP candidate, Chagulanyi, was under house arrest on the day of the voting day.
Yes.
So all of that, and with what Honorable Minister Norbert Mao as Ntuiga stated, him saying that the election is going to be quiet, we are being hopeful. And I don't know, but maybe it is us, it is him and the Ugandans being hopeful that maybe it's going to be that quiet. But the quiet is meaning, is it in the sense that there's not going to be noise? Because that can't be. Maybe if he means the quiet of not being violence, electoral violence, but the noise...
Perhaps he meant the quiet of no procession, because he said you will go to the playground
the procession
that you've been allocated to campaign, talk to the people at Kacheka,
and then go back under the quietness.
And make sure every individual goes back where they came from without creating any scene on any public road.
That reminds me of the Holy Week in Catholic schools, where I would have to be quiet during that Easter week.
Yes.
No noise. But that is something that, as a whole, Uganda as a whole, it can't be achieved. Last evening, just Chagulanyi going to open his offices in Swahili, the noise that was there, the procession. Do you think it's going to be that quiet in every part? Because Museveni is going to come, General Museveni is going to come in Bara, it's going to be the same or maybe less. All the presidential candidates are going to come around and it's going to be the same. Now we are going to just be hopeful that the violence is going to be on the low compared to the 2021 general elections.
Yes.
And we actually pray it remains on the low. But even the electorates, us, the voters, we are hopeful. Like I told you, in the evening yesterday, people are running to go home because there's going to be tear gas. There has to be tear gas. It wasn't there. And maybe it's going to remain like that. Bobi Wine is going to be able to campaign anywhere he goes and when there's no any kind of violence. And there's one thing when you said I was giving Ntuiga this kind of look, he said something that I actually disagree with. He said that NUP also has the
ability to rig elections.
There are some places where it
has dominance.
Yes, maybe in Uganda as a region it has dominance, but I can't say it has the ability to rig because the rigging starts from the ground, the EC. Do you want to say that NUP has ability that it has infused in the electoral commission for it to be able to rig? Maybe the violence may happen, and maybe this time starting from the electorates themselves and not from the other side of the armed officers. But I don't think NUP as a party has the ability to rig the elections. Okay. But we keep hopeful. I read with all the violence that happened in 2021 elections, I read the East African Community Observers report, and they said that the election was quiet, that it was violence free, and the only thing they actually state in their report is Chagulanyi being under house arrest during the voting process. But remain hopeful. Maybe it's going to be different.
All right. Thank you. Let me read one or two comments of Facebook before we call it a wrap. Tashobia Eli says it's absolutely necessary to maintain such a threshold to protect the process. Ugandans have been crying out loud, emphasizing the Electoral Commission to follow the law. Then Dallas official is saying the law should remain in place because the signature requirements helps prevent frivolous and unviable candidates. Then Bright Nwahedes are saying the law should be tightened, at least 200 signatures from all districts. Wargaba Onesmus, I see you. I see a couple of you that have been sending the messages. We want to appreciate you. Let me have the parting shot in a second to all of you. Yes, Bruce, as we get out of studio.
Yes, I want to inform Sandra. In fact, for me, I have a strong belief that what President Museveni said that no prejudice in Uganda was true. He could have exaggerated the figures. To my knowledge, 1 million is a very big number to be manipulated. But I can confirm to you in central Kampala Central, NRM didn't have agents on most of those polling stations. So it is very easy to overwhelm other people, and you do ballot stuffing. That is not rocket science, even when you are in the opposition.
Okay.
But like I said, we continue to pray for a peaceful and fair election.
Okay. Thank you, Bruce. Yes, and Twiga in a second.
No, my message is to the elites in Uganda and the elderly. You understand where we are going. Many of you don't actually vote. I want to encourage them to come out and vote. Why? You see, the next Sanja term for General Yoweri Museveni, who is the one who will win, who must win, is going to be a transition. There is an obvious transition coming up. Please do not kick yourselves out by not voting. That's my message. All of you, keep alert. Otherwise, stay North Mbarara. We are together.
Okay, Sandra.
Just in 1 second, we remain hopeful that 2026 general elections are going to be different from 2021.
Thank you.
In a good way.
Okay. Thank you, Abaho Sandra. Thank you, Ntwiga Moses Nwagawa. Thank you, Bruce Wakunda. Thank you, Brenda Kachisemededwe. Thank you for all those that have contributed by way of call and the messages on our social media. We have news at the top of the hour. God bless you. We are out. Catch you next weekend. Good morning.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of this radio station or its management.
This radio is regulated by Uganda Communications Commission, UCC.